Bro, I'm so unprofessional today. I'm done. I don't care. I'm still sharing it out. Leave me alone. Welcome to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Wolzak. In the upper left, by the way, bet cleared. I couldn't do it for Thanksgiving. I told you I would shave the beard. I couldn't do it for Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving photos. But, yeah, told you I shaved the beard if Texas lost. Bet is cleared. In the upper left corner, we got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, the winner of the game's own, College Control.
It's a good day, man. It's a good day. It's a bad day. It's a somber day. Like everything is. It's a mix of emotions here in the world of Ohio State fans. Because of course the game, it felt like the highest of highs, and then you get the news today that Brian Hartline is going down to South Florida, which feels like the lowest of lows. So a lot of mixed emotions, but you know, it's still the thick of the college football season right now. We're heading to the peak, so still hype. How are you guys doing?
What would you have preferred? Brian Hartline, 3-year contract at Ohio State, guaranteed can't opt out, but you lose the game.
Oh, the game, winning the game is 100%. Brian Hartlines don't grow on trees, but what would I sacrifice? I'd sacrifice
every. Like if you were like, hey, you'll lose the game, but you get to keep your pinky. Would you keep your pinky?
Just the pinky?
I don't need a pinky.
I might give up the pinky. Now, if we're talking thumbs, we might have a different discussion, but pinkies are disposable.
Nah.
Bro, I just got tapped.
Living without thumbs is tough.
In the upper right corner, Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, and the loser of the game, Mr. Bill Shawcross.
I didn't get the pinky memo. I would have cut that shit off Friday, but here we are.
I ask questions. I'll tell you right now, I would not cut my pinky off for an Eagles Super Bowl win. Maybe I would have in 2017, like when we first got it. But I'm not doing that, bro. These dudes don't pay my salary.
Pinky's
like
overrated.
Sports, but
You talking like the whole pinky or just like a knuckle?
Just from the top of the pinky, the nail up.
Nail up.
Oh,
without
Jesus
a doubt.
Christ,
I mean,
bro.
that's not even a discussion. I can go do that
now right now. Yeah, that's what I say.
You're Billy Brancato in it.
Oh, I'm in. Give me a knife.
I ain't doing that. You guys are out of your
I'm
damn
doing
mind.
wrong. Well, if you had a rivalry like that, you would understand.
We do. The Eagles and the Cowboys.
It's different.
It's different.
What's different about it?
It's professional. It's not college.
The college people are professionals now too. They get paid. They're not professional athletes.
I mean, an argument can be made.
I'm just asking.
Argument could be made. I'm not here to make it, though.
All right, well, let's get into this little hot wire action. I'm ready to rock and roll, bro.
I mean, you want to talk about the college players being professional athletes? Let's get right into it with hot wire. I mean, perfect little segue there. I mean, with the college football world right now, the coaching carousel has been really all over the place. Like I mentioned before, you have Hartline going down to South Florida. You had an opening at Kansas State today. Their head coach retired. Penn State still has not hired their coach yet. You've had tons of extensions at Vanderbilt and BYU and Missouri. And then the most prominent one this past week was Lane Kiffin made the decision to take the job at LSU and leave the Ole Miss Rebels in the college football playoff without their head coach. Wanted to get your guys' thoughts and reactions to the move of Lane leaving town, going down to the Bayou and taking on LSU.
College football needs to make a change. They got to make a change, bro. I called this happening last week, and I didn't know. I thought he would go to Florida, but I was wrong, obviously. Then Florida dropped out, and then he ended up going to LSU. I called this move last week, and I said college football has to change this. They can't keep doing this. And, it's happened twice now where a team has basically been like they still had a chance to win the national championship and their coach left. This one feels different. Like Notre Dame had a chance when Brian Kelly left, but no one really thought they had a chance. Ole Miss is sitting like 6th in the AP poll, or college football playoff poll. I think that is preposterous. I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair to the kids that he sells a dream to these kids that, you're going to play for a college football playoff. And not to mention, I think their offensive coordinator left with him. He took a slew of coaches with him. Now, granted, he's gonna call the plays for them in the playoff. But are we serious right now? Am I wrong?
This is no. It's a twofold issue for me. I mean, I will say this. And I've said this before with other instances, with other situations, throughout sports. There's always a right way and a wrong way to do everything. I don't blame him for taking the LSU job. It's a better job. I don't blame him for taking the job. The way I don't know if a person could have handled the situation worse and then compounded it and caused more self-inflicted pain than Lane Kiffin did. If you're an Ole Miss fan, I would tell you in the long run, you're probably better off. But again, this isn't new for Lane Kiffin. Like, we joke about it. We call him a scumbag and all this other stuff. But, one of Gene's favorite sayings, when somebody shows you who they are, like, pay attention. Like, this guy's a zebra who hasn't changed his stripes. This isn't the first time he's done this. He was on a plane recruiting for Tennessee, got off the plane and took the USC job and jumped on another plane and quit in the middle of the night. This is not new for this guy.
It's fact.
That being said, LSU's a better job. To then go back to Ole Miss, though, and try to hold them hostage and say, if you don't let me coach, I'm taking blah, blah, blah with me, and I'm going to flip all these kids, so blah, blah, blah. That's the shit that nobody likes. That's why everybody hates Lane Kiffin stuff right there. He lost a bunch of recruits today, which I thought was very interesting. We were talking right before we came on the show how signing day has been a shit show. They've had a bunch of 5-star kids decommit from LSU. You could take that as, they thought they were going to go play for one guy. Now Lane Kiffin's there, or you could take it as they don't want to play for Lane Kiffin. All the reports that have come out from the kids that were in the meeting about Lane saying everybody was begging him to stay, they're all calling him a liar. I think this drug on for so long. The kids were just done with it, and they just want to play football and play for each other. The defensive coordinator is going to be the head coach. The offensive coordinator is going to go back and call plays for the playoffs. I'm kind of pulling for them now because, to your point, I feel like they kind of got screwed. But to your other point, this is always going to be an issue. Like, this is college football wanting all the money and wanting all the TV and wanting all this, revenue pumped into the sport with the college football playoff, which is great. We all love it, but we always knew with the way signing day was and the transfer window, portal window, and all that stuff, we always knew this was an issue, or it was a possibility to become an issue. Unless they're going to completely revamp the calendar, which they're not going to do, or start the season earlier, which I don't think they're going to do because most colleges are not going to let kids back on campus that early. And the only way this really works is if you push everything back a month and have the college football championship right around New Year's, which means you have to push everything up pretty much a month. You have to be done league play pretty much by Thanksgiving every year. Don't see how that's going to happen. Not with all the colleges having to have 2 bye weeks now because of the extended season to make sure the kids don't get run into the ground. it's the the proverbial cliche of one of your cake and eating it too. You can't have all these extra games, can't have all this extra money, can't have all this, these TV deals and everything, but then still have everything work, the way everybody wants it to work. There's going to have to be major changes, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Well, why can't they make National Signing Day February 1st?
Well, you can't do that because of the transfer portal. Also, you can't do that because you want kids on campus because while they can't play in the games, they practice with team, like the kids that sign early. Like the whole point of signing early is so that you get the extra experience with the team. So they have that early signing day in December, but they also have another signing day in February. If they cut out the early signing day, that essentially eliminates all of the incentive, you could say, for kids to sign early. Like the whole reason you want to sign today and do everything is that you can get on campus as early as possible and start to learn the playbook and get acquainted as much as possible and essentially get the edge on everybody else that's coming in later on in the cycle.
NFL draft prospects sign with the team in April and they play in August.
That's not college football.
Oh, okay. I follow what you're saying, but like, which one is more of a problem?
If you sign a freshman right now that doesn't early enroll, they can't do anything with the team until the 2nd of August. Yeah. Not even.
Why can't we just change that? I hate hearing the word can't. You can't do that. You sure the hell you can. Well, I can't do it because they can't do anything until August. Okay, let's just change that shit.
Because they're not enrolled in school yet. If you're early sign, if you're
semester,
how are you going to enroll in the spring semester if you're in high school, bro?
That's what the point of like the kids that enroll early, they're done with school. Like they graduate in December.
Correct.
So then they can go and like that's how you sign up for classes and stuff during like you have to do it during the winter period for the spring semester. You can't just middle of spring semester say, all right, I'm done with high school. I'm just go take college courses now in March. Like that's not
sign up for summer courses.
I mean, you can sign up for summer courses, but that's still summer is May, June, July. Like you're still 5 months behind.
In April for May classes. It's not behind though. It's behind in your world.
December and May is behind. That's behind. That's what I'm saying. Like that's a whole 5 month period where you're not playing football.
You think this is worth it?
I'm not saying this is worth it, but that's not a solution. Like the solution is to start the season earlier. Like if you're going to change this, that's what you have to do.
If you start the season earlier or they get there late, isn't that the same damn thing?
No, it's not. No.
Why?
Because you're still missing the entire point here. If you started later and signing days, if you want the season to end and you want it to be fully over by the first week of January, but you would have to have signing day still in December. I'm saying you want kids to sign during the playoffs. What'd you say?
This wouldn't change what happened.
Yes, it would. 100% would.
No, it wouldn't, because Lane Kiffin still wouldn't be coaching his team in the college football playoff.
Yes, he would. Why wouldn't he?
Because he'd have to wait. He'd have to go to LSU to sign kids.
There's a ton of other coaches. First off, part of the reason why Lane Kiffin is not coaching at Ole Miss right now is because it's in the same conference as Ole Miss, and they are direct rivals. That's a huge part of it. There's a ton of coaches right now that are still alive as far as the college football playoff goes that are still coaching their teams. Brian Hartline just took a job at USF. They said, hey, you can still coach Ohio State as long as you want to. Tulane's coach, John Summerall, is still coaching Tulane right now, and he took a job at Florida going into the college football playoff potentially if they win their conference on Saturday. So it's not like this unprecedented things where coaches aren't allowed to coach at their program. It's just in this case with Lane, he did a direct move to a rival school in the same conference. That's where this whole thing is all messed up.
Happen again. And there's like rules that say that that can happen again. Why wouldn't you just fix it? And you can fix it easily.
You can fix it. I'm just saying you can't have players sign in February because then they can't enroll and they won't be able to play football until May or June. Like that's the issue with what you're proposing. I'm saying you start the season earlier.
National championship.
January 20th. Like it's like the third week of January.
If we move the season up a little bit and the national championship was New Year's Day, and you had National Sign Day January 10th, and they can enroll, and you allow them to enroll in spring semester. Wouldn't that eliminate this problem?
Yeah, that's that would be fine.
Point. Have it after the season. I said February. You guys, well, it just starts January. Okay, cool. Let's make it January 1st and have National Signing Day be January 10th when the season's over. You know how baseball works? Like the World Series is over and then free agency opens. Like that's what college football should be doing. It's stupid that you have a guy that's running the 6th best program in America right now. And by the way, Bill, I agree with most of what you said. The one thing I don't agree with, in the long run, it's probably better off. Ole Miss was a poverty franchise before Lane Kiffin got there. They're in the college football playoff now. Do I need to go back to Hugh Freeze? Do we need to go back to what they were doing beforehand?
I think you're underselling, though, the flip side of that relationship. You have to also remember that Lane Kiffin was like a disease, basically. He was the Black Plague. Like nobody in college football wanted to touch him. And like while he was beneficial for Ole Miss, and this was their best season of all time, like they were the ones that actually gave him a shot. Like he was coaching at FAU because nobody else wanted to get in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes because of how he exits everywhere that he goes. Like Bill talked about the whole tarmac thing. His situation at Alabama where Saban literally had to fire him in the midst of competing for a national championship because he was that big of a distraction. So I get it. Like, I do think I
agree with that.
In the whole picture, I think Lane should be able to coach like throughout the playoff, but you have to understand this is just one of those crazy situations where it is a rivalry school. It's the same conference. And at the end of the day, Lane kind of burned the bridge that he was trying to stand on by once Ole Miss said no, he went back to him and said, hey, well, if you don't do this, I'm going to take all your coaches. I'm going to steal the players in the building. I'm going to do this, that, and the third to try and sabotage your program. And that's not the right way to go about things. Like there's a reason why other coaches are being allowed to coach in the playoff and Lane sitting there, you know, twiddling his fingers. And even a reason why they allowed the OC to go back. You know, Lane was the main one that said, hey, if you don't get on this plane with me, you're not going to be, you know, offered a job later on. And Ole Miss was basically like, yeah, I mean, that's cool. But if Charlie Weiss wants to come back and coach our offense, he absolutely can. And, you know, you can figure that out afterwards.
I think we know Lane Kiffin's a scumbag, but it doesn't stop other scumbags. Like Brian Kelly's a scumbag. He did this to Notre Dame. This is not the
This is the exact. This is apples to apples comparison. Lane and Brian Kelly. And if you're Ole Miss, you got to look at it like, hey, we signed Notre Dame signed Marcus Freeman, and that's worked out a hell of a lot better than it has. You know, LSU getting Brian Kelly. So you know, you hire from within and hope that you can have more success or build upon the success that you were starting to have there with the previous coach.
I used to have a beard though. I had a beard. It's gone. But all right. Any other comments you guys want to make on Lane Kiffin being a scumbag? It's just a lot to get into.
No, I feel like I'll unload more on Lane later. I saved some for the end of the show.
Scumbag. Well, I know he's a scumbag. I'm going to load on something we're going to do later. So here, promise, it's coming.
All right, so
I was going to do it, bro. I just needed to wait till Thanksgiving was over. Talking all that smack. Yes, I did it. I'm a man of my word.
All right, so wanted to go over, just kind of get some updates here with the MLB offseason here. We had a couple moves happen. We still got some big names that are available there since we've last been on the show. Devin Williams, reliever, signed a deal with the New York Mets. 3 years, $50 million, you know, be a strong arm in their bullpen. Alek Manoah, who was a guy who we talked about a couple years ago as a potential, you know, Cy Young candidate. He just went to the Angels on a one year, you know, $2 million deal there. But you also still have the heavy hitters, you know, waiting to be signed. And Kyle Tucker, Kyle Schwarber, Cody Bellinger, Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso. I mean, those are just like some of the top names there. With what's happened so far, I mean, any moves so far that you guys have thought that just stood out? Bo Bichette is another one that I didn't mention there either. But any moves so far that have kind of stood out to you, or any moves that you're looking to? I know the Phillies are going to be probably big time buyers, or at least be in the conversation of a lot of big time players there. So anybody you guys are looking forward to, or anything like that?
Yeah, Bill. MLB free agency sucks. Good.
This has become kind of the issue with it. To Gene's point, the last couple of years, it's been 5 or 6 years ago. This stuff all pretty much happened rapid fire. Now the agents have kind of figured out if you're not like the top guy, you pretty much just sit around and wait for the top guy to sign, so you know you can max out your guy, and it leads to kind of a boring free agency. Kyle Tucker and Kyle Schwarber, the two that everybody's waiting for the shoes to drop on them. Everything I've read in regards to the Phillies so far is that JT is almost a lock to come back on like a 2-year deal. They want to keep Ranger, but they got to figure that out. And they're still heavily in on Kyle Schwarber. So I'll be curious to see where Schwarber ends up, and then whoever doesn't get Schwarber, because again, I think as we talked about before, there's going to be quite a few teams on Schwarber. So I don't know if Kyle Tucker becomes Plan B. I don't know if Pete Alonso becomes Plan B. I don't know how well this fan base is. I don't think anybody wants to see Kyle Schwarber leave, but I also don't know how well it's going to go over just to bring almost the same roster back and say run it back again. I don't know how well that's going to go over. But yeah, I mean, there's still a bunch of big names out there, but it's usually once the big guys sign, it really picks up and stuff goes fast, and that's when it gets fun. But you just unfortunately have to do that. You have to wait for the big guys now. That's just the way they do it. It sucks.
It's terrible. Obviously, the Phillies offseason, I've heard a lot of rumors of the Phillies trading for Adley Rutschman. I'll sign up for that. Give me Adley Rutschman. I don't mind losing JT. He's 36, can't hit a fastball anymore.
I don't have a problem with getting Adley Rutschman, but I'm not giving up a lot for him. Not after his last 2 years.
No, Todd, but just younger catcher, get younger at the position. Listen, dream offseason for me is trade for Adley Rutschman, sign Pete Alonso, and let Schwarber walk. Then you can use Bryce in right field and DH. You kind of save his legs a little bit to DH. You have the DH as a universal spot. It's not just held for one player. So a dream, off season for me is bringing in Rutschman and Alonso and letting Schwarber and Realmuto walk. And then trade Castellanos and Bohm.
If you're Baltimore, though, why would you trade Adley now? And I feel like you're trading him. I feel like you're trading him now, though, when his value is the lowest. Like,
ask Baltimore, they're shopping him. That's not like
if I'm Philly. I mean, of course, that's a move you absolutely you make the call about. I mean, it'd be a match made in heaven there. I mean, he'd be your cornerstone catcher for the next 10 years if he wants to.
Yeah, they're shopping him. I mean, this wouldn't come out of nowhere. They're shopping multiple players in Baltimore. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're shopping people, but Adley would just that would be one that would really surprise.
They're shopping Ryan Mountcastle. It's not just Rutschman. I don't know why they go and sell every other year, but that's Baltimore.
I think the reality of it is they know they're not going to be able to keep all of them once they all come off for contract. So.
My thing is, I'd look at what Toronto just did there, and they kind of kept kicking the bucket, and they're like, all right, well, if it doesn't work, we're going to trade everybody. But then they finally had their breakthrough, and Baltimore had a really good season a couple years ago. This past season, they underperformed. I'm just saying, I would give it one last true push before I start selling, and use Toronto as literally my blueprint there. But just kind of speaking of Toronto there, you guys mentioned, Tucker and Schwarber and Pete Alonso even. You think Bo ultimately ends up back in Toronto before we move on over to NBA?
Absolutely.
I would say the odds are better than no. I think there was a lot of hurt feelings there for a while. So I don't know if that's kind of been repaired or not. If I had a bet, I would say he goes back to Toronto, but I would absolutely not be shocked if he ends up somewhere else.
On the fence, shall he?
No, not on the fence. I think if I said,
God damn it. I'm kidding.
I think the one thing that kind of surprised me is that I feel like the Vlad deal was just like a bam, like in your face. Like there was all the rumors about Vlad, potentially wanting to leave and Toronto maybe not wanting to pay him. And then big deal happens. And granted, the Blue Jays, the season hasn't been over like that long, at this point. But they go out and sign a pitcher to a $200 million deal. I feel like if Bo was, a top priority, I feel like he would have been signed to this point. That's not to say that they're not trying to get the deal done, but I definitely feel like the longer it goes, the more likely it is that he ultimately finds a new home next season. But with that said, anything else MLB before we move over to NBA?
Nope.
All right, so we got the big news out of the NBA today about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis has basically been reported that he wants out of Milwaukee. Now, it's been reported that he asked for a trade before the season officially started, but now him and his agent are looking to speak with the Bucks front office to see what they can kind of orchestrate as far as, Giannis's future there. One, does the news surprise you? But two, where do you see Giannis really going from here? Do you think this gets done rather quickly? Kind of what's your outlook on the whole Bucks situation there?
Bro, the Wizards broke them. The Wizards broke them. After the game, after they lost to the Wizards, like Giannis deleted all his stuff on social media with the Bucks. He's like, I'm done with this team. I can't do it anymore. The funny thing is this, he wants to go to New York, but I don't see a package that New York can put together that will be suitable to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. They don't have picks and they don't have tradable assets. They don't have much to give. So I think this is going to drag. He wants it done by December 15th, which is you're going to have to wait till December 15th to get it done anyway, based off of the way his contract's structured. But I don't know how the Knicks can do this deal. I just don't. They have OG and they'd have to move Karl Anthony Towns somewhere else. I don't know how you do it. I just feel like it's a pipe dream. I feel like the team that has the assets and the players to do it is San Antonio. But Giannis has to say, I'll go to San Antonio.
My goodness, that would be
But
insanity.
that's the team. Bro, tell me this, right? Do you want OG Anunoby and a couple bags of rocks, and then New York's going to basically have to trade Karl Anthony Towns to get picks, and then send OG a couple bench players because they can't trade Mikal, they can't trade Jalen Brunson. That's obviously not on the table. And Karl Anthony Towns, I think it's a three-way trade to begin with. But would you want that package, or would you want the Spurs to pick up and be like, here's Stephon Castle, here's De'Aaron Fox, and here's first-round draft picks. And they walk out of that trade with Dylan Harper, Giannis, and Wemby.
I mean, I thought the Spurs was the package all along. Like when we were talking about potential Giannis moves before the season started. I just think a Giannis and Wemby combination. I just genuinely don't know how you would stop that. Just how they would be able to play with each other, how they both can defend, and that would just be a nightmare match for a lot of teams there. And I also think the Spurs have a ton of capital to get it done. They're in control of a lot of their picks. They have young assets, and you say Stephon Castle, and I 100% think it would have to be Castle or Harper, but they still have a ton of other young talent where 100%. They would still have a full roster. I look at Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan. There's a ton of young players on that Spurs team. So I think that would be a hell of a move to try and pull off there. I think the Spurs probably have more capital than anybody outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder. But even then, I don't know if the Thunder would want to mess up what they got currently cooking at 20-1, even if it is for a player like Giannis. I just don't know if
the Thunder trade for Giannis would be the dumbest trade of all time. It would be stupid. You have the best young core in basketball, and guess what? You can afford them, and you can keep them there for a long friggin' time. Why in the world would the Thunder trade for Giannis?
I'm just saying they have the assets, the picks, the young players. They may, I don't know. I'm just saying they would be a team that I would also look at. You have the assets that could potentially entice Milwaukee to move on from him.
The problem is this dipshit only wants to go to 3 teams. And he let them know. He's like, I only want to go to the Knicks, the Heat, or the Lakers. The dumb shit comment. Cool. You just sit on the bench. I'm not getting anything from the Knicks. And by the way, the Milwaukee Bucks, Shy, I love your opinion too. The Milwaukee Bucks in this situation are going to be worse than the Brooklyn Nets when this is all said and done. So if I'm them, I really don't give a shit what you think.
That's my biggest point, is what you just said. If it's to the point where they have to move him, then they have to do 100% what's right for them and make sure they get what they want back. To your point, there's no point in making some dumbass deal with the Knicks just to make him happy. I don't even know. I don't think the Heat makes any sense at all. San Antonio is obviously interesting because they have pieces, like you guys both said. I don't know why OKC would entertain it. I mean, they're the best team in basketball, and I just don't know why you'd break up any of that core, that chemistry right now. I get it, it's Giannis, but I mean, you could just really make a good argument they don't need him.
Yeah.
And the Lakers are so beyond screwed with moves they've already made in the past. There's no way that's going to happen. So I agree with you. If it gets to the point where you got to sit him, then you got to sit him. But if you're the ownership of the Bucks, you have to do 100% whatever you can do to get the best product back. So to Gene's point, you don't become the Nets for the next 3 years. Like, you don't want to go back into what the Bucks were for, the early 2000s and 2010s and being a 50, 60 loss team every year. Like, you can't go back there. So you got to do what you got to do. And if Giannis doesn't like it, then that's too bad.
Who?
The Bucks are going to be a dumpster fire, I feel like, regardless. No matter where they send him, it's just going that team is going to be in disarray. They don't have, John Sucks put in the comments here, Blazers have control of their first round picks for the foreseeable future here. And then the other part of it too is that even if you get a deal with, like, let's say the Spurs, for example, you're not going to have a true core of what De'Aaron Fox and Miles Turner. Like, that's not going to really get you anywhere. It's going to put you in this purgatory anyway. Plus, the Spurs draft picks are going to be high because the Spurs are going to be good for the foreseeable future, especially if you trade them Giannis. So you're going to get a bunch of high draft picks, and you're going to have these players on your payroll that aren't going to elevate your level of play. So I think the Bucks are doomed for purgatory anyway. I think they should have probably tried to shop them before they signed them to this 3-year extension, when you could have got, crazy value for them. Because, I mean, if players like Rudy Gobert are going for 5 first-round picks, you could have got, a king's ransom for Giannis, especially before all the news of him being disgruntled really came out. So I think they're in a really tough spot here, no matter where they ultimately send Giannis to.
We'll give him JoJo. Get him Embiid.
It's a negative asset. We'd have to
contract numbers work out at least.
Bro, listen. If you called up a team and said, "We'll give you Joel Embiid," I'm like, "What else?" They don't want him.
Is Maxey coming? No, I don't want to continue this conversation.
Other thing here real quick that I wanted to get from you guys, and then we can move on over to the NFL. 2 things also kind of happening right now in the NBA. Chris Paul was recently released or sent home from the Clippers. They basically said, hey, it's been great having you, but we no longer need you on the roster. Happened in the middle of the night there as well. Kind of a crazy, bizarre situation, especially on his retirement tour there. And then the other question I have for you guys is, do you think that this Oklahoma City Thunder team sitting at 21-1 can break the Warriors 73-9 record? So just real quick, wanted to get your guys' thoughts on both those things here before we moved on.
Shall I go first on the Chris Paul thing?
I think it's kind of shitty, if I'm being honest. They're a dumpster fire, which I don't know if we thought they were going to be that bad at the beginning of the year, but I feel like I just feel like the way the news came out today, like Cottrell even said it, like I think that, like, the headline I saw said, like, abruptly, like, it's almost like they're making it sound like it's his fault they were bad this year. It was just weird to me. Listen, I mean, we talked about Chris, I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, about this being it and kind of, him being able to ride in the sunset and having his farewell tour. He deserves better than this. I truly hope somebody picks him up and, lets him play the rest of the season. This would be a really shitty way for, an all-time great Hall of Fame type player to kind of end their career because the Clippers just, don't have their shit together. That's a bit much for me.
Who's the greatest player in the Clippers organization history?
Chris Paul.
The greatest player in organizational history is retiring. He's second all-time in steals. I think he's fourth all-time in assists. Top 5 point guard of all time. He's on a farewell tour with the team that he has the longest history with. He's the greatest player in your organization's history, and him and the head coach didn't talk to each other for weeks. The conversation was Chris wanted to hold the team more accountable. And it seems like the Clippers have no interest in holding anyone accountable. I mean, the Clippers did this to themselves, right? When you go out there and bring James Harden in, and you have Kawhi Leonard here on a long-term contract.
Bradley Beal.
Like, this is what you do to yourself. If you couldn't predict this dumpster fire when this team got put together, I think the move, it's funny. We just talked about it a second ago. I don't see how the Knicks could get Giannis. I'd be the perfect fit for him, for Chris Paul. Back up Jalen Brunson, add a little leadership to that second team, be able to get those wings more involved with Bridges and Anunoby. Help that second team be efficient when Jalen Brunson either is off on a night or he can't be a starter. He's not a starter. And at least New York, you'll get somewhat of a farewell tour with the winning organization. Now, where I think he wants to go is the Lakers.
Of course.
Lives in LA. But what's going on? And I see people defending the Clippers organization. It is indefensible. You cannot defend this. If your team was 15-8 instead of 8-15, I think they're worse than that. I just made that up. But
they're 5-19, I believe.
I don't think they have 8 wins.
They're 5-16. If they were 16-5 and Chris was causing locker room problems because he wants to hold people accountable and he wasn't talking to the coach, okay, I can hear that. They're 5-16. Chris is the problem? Got it. I got it. Chris is the problem. Kawhi's played like 38 games the last 4 years combined. That's obviously sarcastic.
Is it?
But I'm baffled by this. That would be like the Sixers doing that to Allen Iverson. I just can't see that.
It's wild. It's a wild thing for sure. And I'm glad you brought up that point, Gene, because he's 100% the best player in their franchise's history. And the crazy part is that this is essentially history repeating itself because they really did the same thing to their second greatest player in franchise history in Blake Griffin. They sent him off to Detroit essentially to die. He wanted to come back and they just essentially traded him without his knowledge. And that's why he had beef with Steve Ballmer and, that entire organization there. So this is really nothing new for that Clippers team. I think it's absolutely crazy to do this. And even if he was trying to hold, players accountable, he was trying to hold coaches accountable. I get it. It's not an ideal mesh right now. Chris doesn't, in his last year, I'm sure he wants to try to compete for a championship or at least make the playoffs, like have something to hang his hat on towards the end of his career there. And that hasn't been the case there. How much of a distraction can you be on a team that's 5-16? Like that's my biggest question. So I don't understand. Even if he's just in street clothes the entire time, like you don't dress him because he's the 15th man.
Control. They let him fly to Atlanta and cut him at midnight
sent them home on a private jet. Not even waiting until they got home from
Fly them to Atlanta. They played today.
Yeah,
told him
I was up
midnight. We're gonna send you home.
I was literally up. It was like 2 a.m. I saw Chris Haynes' tweet. I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? Chris Paul just getting fired in the middle of the night? Like, what did he do? And I come to find out it's just disagreements with him and Ty Lue. I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
I just can't. I can't. It's embarrassing.
It's not good.
CP3 and Ty Lue weren't on speaking terms. And by the way, the president of operations for the Clippers, do you know who it is?
No.
Lawrence Frank.
I didn't know that.
Frank?
I didn't know that. Lawrence Frank was a New Jersey Net coach back in the day.
Oh, Jesus. This is hilarious. All right, let's get in the NFL. We done there?
Yes, no. Thunder going to have a chance to break 73-9.
Yes, they're the best team in basketball. It's not close. And they're young and they're deep, and they were winning all those games out their second best player even on the roster.
That to me is the key point for me. I think they have a chance because I look how much Golden State kind of emptied the tank down the stretch to do it. OKC, with as deep as they are, I don't think it's that much of an issue for them. So if they get close, then yeah, I think they have an absolute chance to make a run at it.
It's crazy. They have SGA, Dort, J-Dub, Chet, Hartenstein, AJ Mitchell, who's been incredible this year, Kaysen Wallace, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams,
Isaiah Joe.
It's dumb. Their roster is stupid. They're all good basketball players. I just named you 10 good basketball players.
And they're probably going to have another lottery pick and join their team next year.
Yeah, yes, they have a chance. They have a chance to be one of the greatest teams ever.
I think they got a chance too. I also think, though, if it comes down to it, like if they keep going on this crazy stretch, and I'm not saying this is the Warriors would, I think, still go after that 73-9. But I do feel like hearing them talk about it, like they were saying, like, you know, we were kind of gassed down the stretch there, and they didn't necessarily struggle in the playoffs. I mean, they went 7 games that year. They just didn't ultimately get it done there. But I'd be very curious, though, to see how they handle that as far as there are a lot of young players, but I'm curious to see how they handle it as far as like rest goes, if everything is locked up. Because I mean, at this rate, you know, you'd imagine the 1 seed's going to be locked up probably by the first week of April. It's still like a week and a half to go there. So curious to see how they play it, but I 100% think they're a team that's going to be on pace as long as they stay healthy.
It'll be interesting. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to watch it. I'm ready to watch the collapse. I want to get in the NFL. And by the way, did both of you guys, did either one of you guys see episode 1 of the NFC East in-season Hard Knocks?
I have not yet, but I've seen people talking about it.
It's on my DVR. I haven't watched it yet.
First of all, you can skip the first episode. Boring. It's really boring. I watched the whole thing just because I wanted to see, like, I've seen the clip of Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith on that route, like in Chicago versus Chicago Bears. That just didn't make sense. And the part of the thing that frustrated me the most, and this is my internal fandom, my internal hatred, was listening to Brian Schottenheimer in the locker room after the Cowboys beat the Eagles. Like, can you win the game in the first quarter? Can you win the game in the second quarter? Can you win it in the third? Like, you sound like a moron. Shut up. And this is just me being an Eagles fan, so I understand that. We don't have to. But, Shally, put your gloves on. Time to go to work. Shally texted me Friday night.
Okay.
Non-group message text. This is awful. I said, what did you expect? And all I want to bring up is they're winning games. What the hell does it matter? They're winning. I'm telling you, I told you this was going to be an issue 3 weeks ago. Now, to I'm gonna pull a little 8 Mile, right? Pull a little, give him his defense beforehand. He's like, you think this is still about AJ? No, it's not the point. The point is there's turmoil in the situation on their offense, and it's bleeding over now to their defense. And the issues in Philadelphia is hilarious. I don't know how in what world they're 3-point favorites on Monday night. In what world are they 3-point favorites on Monday night at the Chargers after giving up 200 yards rushing to the Chicago Bears? Kyle Monongoy and DeAndre Swift just ran for 200-plus yards against your defense. Now, the response is, well, it's their defense. They couldn't get off the field. No shit. They have the most 3-and-outs in football. Their defense is fucking gassed. They have the most 3-and-outs in football. And then when they get momentum, the defense intercepts Caleb Williams. Jalen fumbles the tush push. Like, that team is a train wreck waiting to happen. And Jordan Mailata gets on, he goes on his weekly show and he goes, oh, this is nothing like 2023. 2023, the coaches had no attention to detail. They weren't like literally trashing the 2023 team. But I remind you, you assholes went to the media in 2023 and said, no, everything's fine internally. So I don't believe you. So, Shally, I'm going to ask you, is it time to panic in Philadelphia?
Panic. Let's see. I would say Sunday's Monday night, is very crucial in that situation. I think with what the Chargers do and can't do, if the offense goes out there and still looks really stale and the Chargers get Omarion Humphrey back or Hampton back and he goes nuts like Chicago did, then yeah, maybe. I think we're somewhere between strongly concerned and panic. But I mean, we're not comfy cozy 8-2 like we were a couple weeks ago.
Can I paint a picture for you real quick, Shally? And I want to hear Control's comments afterwards. Justin Herbert's not going to play. And on Monday Night Football, Trey Lance and a beaten and battered offensive line for the Los Angeles Chargers are going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. No Justin Herbert, third string left tackle, backup right tackle. I can see that happening. Trey Lance, they win 13-10 because the Eagles offense can't move the football. See, I don't know how you would say yes if they lose to the Raiders. Why don't you say yes now? They lost to the Bears. They lost to the Cowboys. Trust me, Monday Night Football, they go into LA and lose to Trey Lance. You're going to hear me even more.
Where did you hear that?
What?
Just everything I'm reading saying that he's like...
He just had surgery. It's a broken hand.
He's not going to practice all week. He's basically going to be a game time decision on Monday. Yeah. I honestly would be shocked if he played on Monday.
I'm with you. I'd be shocked if he played too. Herbert is playing. Maybe
he's going to be a game time. I mean, Harbaugh is, obviously keeping his cards close to the vest, which makes a ton of sense. He's saying like, hey, we don't need him to practice this week for him to play, which I get. I mean, he's been in the offense, at this point all season. So, I mean, I don't have any issue with him not practicing there. It's just if I'm on the opposite side of that, though, I'm like, hey, every game is important, especially with how tight the AFC is looking right now. But at the end of the day, like, I don't want my franchise guy to be in a spot where we could potentially lose him for the rest of the season, trying to, eke out a game that we might not win anyway. So I would be more cautious, give him a week and kind of just go from there. But time will tell with that.
I could see it. What was the quarterback's name, Shally, that Minnesota Vikings had? And on Tuesday Night Football in the Ice Bowl beat us. I forget. What was his name? It was like a third string quarterback. Hold on. I'm going to figure it out right now. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll find it. Hold on.
The other part, too, of this whole Eagles thing is that I remember vividly bringing this question up when you guys lost to the Broncos. And at the time, the conversation wasn't about I remember I asked, is it time to panic in Philadelphia? And both of you said no at the time. So like it's kind of crazy how fast things change. Gene, you were there maybe a week after. I forgot who you played next, but
Joe Webb. Tuesday Night Football. This reminds me of that. Sorry. Again, I apologize.
No, I mean, I was just saying, like, it's kind of crazy how we've gotten to this point here. And even still, like, the game that happened, AJ had a monster day, and the offense still wasn't.
Notice electric. How his personality changed in the interview?
I didn't even hear the interview.
Oh, say. Yeah, we're almost there. He's like, dude, he's chipper. Steph Joyner called him out on the radio. You know who Steph Joyner is?
No.
Old-time Eagles player, very respected. A lot of people wanted him to be our defensive coordinator before Vic. Obviously, you want Vic. But his comments on A.J. Brown were scathing. And he said he called him selfish and a typical 21st century wide receiver. Called him a diva. He say self-centered. Hold on. Let me get the quotes. I should have been more prepared. You guys can yell at me for this one. That's my fault. But a lot of people are going to be pissed at me and he might even be pissed at me. But in a lot of ways, he's a typical 21st century wide receiver diva, and he's selfish. Because when he was getting the ball on a regular basis, there was no complaining. The Eagles lost the last 2 games in a row. A.J. Brown had 9+ targets and a touchdown. You ain't complaining now. Okay. You're not complaining now. So it tells me all the shit, all the pissing and moaning was self-centered. You want to hear something crazy? I had a Hall of Fame wide receiver call me, and he said this team would probably be better off without A.J. Brown. Now, to think about this offense, I talked about it in past years when he was having success. It was all good. When Devontae Smith's having a career year or Dallas Goedert's leading the team in touchdowns, you mean to tell me you can't be happy for those guys? And we're winning? If they are taking you away in coverage and your teammates are getting it done, you mean to tell me you can't be happy for your teammates? Be happy that you're winning. Steph Joyner's comments are scathing. He's getting targets, though. He's happy. AJ's dominant. Good job. I'm in full panic mode, Tim Todd. Full panic mode. Full panic mode.
To the point where you think you might not make the playoffs?
I mean, bro, I think they can lose Monday to Trey Lance.
Okay.
They lose Monday to Trey Lance. Jaden Daniels come back for Washington. You play Buffalo. To Washington twice. Washington looked inspired Sunday night. I could see the Eagles losing 5 out of the last 6 games. I don't think they could lose to the Raiders if they tried.
I mean, I agree with that.
I don't think they could lose to the Raiders if they physically just handed them the football. The Raiders would find a way to screw that up. But other than that, I could see them losing every game. They're terrible. They allowed 200 yards rushing to a 7th-round draft pick from Rutgers. And DeAndre Swift.
Bill, you think chance you don't make the playoffs, or you're not quite that far with it?
Not that far with it. I mean, Washington's so far back. I mean, I don't care if Jaden Daniels comes back. There's just not enough games left. And they weren't playing well before that. So Dallas, I guess, is kind of a concern because they've kind of gotten a little bit lucky and played a little bit better the last couple of weeks. Had a lot of help from the NFL.
Speaking of that, Gene, we got a discussion to have.
I don't think Buffalo's not playing good football right now. So I mean, we'll see. I do agree with Gene. I think Monday will be very telling. I think it'll be If you go out there and Trey Lance does start, if Herbert doesn't play, and you lose that game, then I mean something drastically has to change.
Go ahead, bro. We have to have a discussion. I paused. I waited for you.
I mean, Kansas City and Dallas happened, and Dallas won the game outright.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to tell the people?
I mean, I was wrong about the game. What would you like me to say?
No, it said that the Cowboys. We said last week, Chiefs won. I'd say, Cowboys suck this year, or they stink. Cowboys won. Come on here and said Cowboys are a good team. I'm just saying, that was the conversation that we had last week.
They're a good team right now. If that's what you need to hear, that's fine. They're a good team right now. Do I think that they got heavily assisted from the Zebra crew? Absolutely. And I don't know how you can watch that game on Thursday and not think that they were I'm not kidding when I say this. When you have guys online that are not Cowboys or Chiefs guys, guys that are working for ESPN talking about how one side of the game's being called, it's a problem. It's a problem. But if it's your pick and you're rooting for them to win, it's very tough to see that. It was tough for me to admit that the Eagles got a little bit of luck when they called an offensive PI or a defensive PI against A.J. Brown versus the Lions. I still don't think the Lions win that football game. They weren't moving the football at all. But, yeah, we kind of got lucky there. I also told you 3 years ago when the game was fixed for the Eagles when they played the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football in one of the worst officiated games ever. I can admit that. But now the Cowboys are a game and a half back. They have this NFC East hard knocks coming out. Kind of, makes sense. It makes sense.
25 penalties called in their favor in a 2-game span, most in the history of the NFL. Take it for what you will.
Do you not think there were ones you watched the game on Thanksgiving, right? Come on.
I did.
You don't think there were one-sided calls?
I mean, there was definitely some bad calls in the football game, but I watched the game too, and I thought in the second half the Cowboys looked like the better football team in that game.
It's fair. I don't disagree with that statement. I think that if Mahomes got the ball back down 3, they would have won the football game.
I mean,
that's right.
I wouldn't argue that.
But I also tell you, if Jalen Hurts got the ball back down 3 in the Super Bowl, the Eagles would have won the football game.
In the words of Kanye, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, you ain't lying. You ain't lying. I'm embarrassed for the NFL at times. There's just so many people that come out and say the game's scripted. And I'm not saying it's not scripted, but I definitely think that Vegas and gambling plays a role in the things that happen in the NFL.
But in that game, though, gambling should have not played a factor in it because I remember you saying last week that there was 80% of the money on the Cowboys.
You're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But that's where we're at. We're at 8 o'clock, though. Shai, did you come prepared?
Of course.
Okay. Just double checking.
What do you mean?
Well, bro, you haven't had a You Gotta Be Kidding Me since September.
Yeah, it's different.
It's trivia time, baby.
Trivia time, baby.
Comments off. You guys can go nuts in the comments. My comments are off. Let me give it an old flipperoo.
All right. Well, now that the regular college football season is over, we're getting into bowl season here. We're going to go top 10 schools with the most bowl appearances of all time. This will probably go very quickly. So if you name something outside the top 10, I'm just going to say it's not in the top 10. We will probably have to go to tiebreakers on this. So.
Okay.
Gene, you won last week. Would you like to go first or second?
No, I'll go first.
No.
I feel like it's hard not to say Alabama.
Alabama is number 1 with 77.
Go Ohio State.
Ohio State is tied for 6th with 55.
I seen you delayed way too far there. I'm like, the hater. He finally list Ohio State wasn't on. I was like, oh.
Nah.
Give me the Philadelphia Bulldogs. I mean, Georgia Bulldogs. My bad.
Number 2 with 62.
And I'll take Michigan.
Michigan's not in the top 10.
Wow. I would have 100% did Michigan be top 10. Give me Texas. They're in a bowl every year.
Texas is number 3 with 59.
I'll take Notre Dame.
It's a great one.
Notre Dame is not in the top 10.
What?
Golly.
We are.
We are. It's tied for number 10 with 53.
Unbelievable. Both has success literally every year. I'll take Oklahoma.
Oklahoma is number 4 with 57. 4-2.
Florida.
Florida's not in the top 10.
That does not surprise me.
Door opens a little bit here.
All right. 6-1 team every year. Give me.
I have one.
Nope. Give me Miami.
Miami is not in the top 10.
USC.
USC is tied for number 6 with 55. Gene can do no worse than tie.
Okay. Let's see here. Through.
Sure, you're thinking too much like a college analyst and not like a dummy. You have to think more like a dummy like me. I'm just thinking schools.
I'll take. Give me Auburn.
Auburn is not in the top 10.
If it's the best job in the country, it's got to be in the top 10. Give me LSU.
Also tied for number 6 for the win, LSU Tigers with 55.
How would you get to Auburn before LSU?
I don't know. I'm thinking more. I was thinking more like, I guess, historic per se. LSU still definitely should have got there before. I'm curious though where the hell Notre Dame and Michigan are.
So Michigan is number 11 with 52. They were one out. Clemson's 12. Gators are 13. Florida State and Florida both tied at 13. Auburn is 15. Georgia Tech is 16.
I mean, Auburn wasn't far off. 15.
Notre Dame is 23rd.
Wow.
With 40.
Yeah, Damian. By the way, just to be clear, you trash the Bears more than I do. So, yes, they got lucky. They ran into an Eagles team that hates each other. I think they're fool's gold, and you'll hear that again this week.
The other team that was tied for 9th was Nebraska.
I wouldn't have gotten Nebraska. I might have gotten Nebraska eventually.
I was kind of trying to think the blue blood route, but
I just want big schools. I can't believe you should took the easy ones off the table for me.
Well, I mean, I didn't think there was a shot that Michigan wasn't on the the list. So
I got to go first, and I was just like, "Oh, Alabama, Georgia, Texas." Like, take those big schools.
I also didn't know because I don't really remember Georgia's history pre-Kirby. So, like, I was kind of wondering, like, if they had a lull in there.
I mean, I think they've made when he said Alabama had what did they have 73 bowl games?
72.
Yeah.
So when he said they had 72, I'm like, well, Georgia's got like guaranteed 25 in the last 25 years.
Yeah. But then him saying Ohio State was at like 6, like that kind of threw me for a loop too, though. So
sure. Back to NFL. You got a Thursday night football game that is an eliminator. Well, it may not be an eliminator, but it feels like an eliminator. The Dallas Cowboys are going to Detroit to play the Detroit Lions. I don't want to say it's an elimination game, but it is almost a playoff game. The Detroit Lions are 7-5. With a loss, they would be 7-6. The Cowboys are 6-5-1. With a loss, they'd be 6-6-1. Is this a must-win for both teams, or can you see a path to the playoffs without winning this football game?
For me, I think this is a absolute must-win for both teams. I think the Cowboys are in a better spot because of how bad the Eagles are playing. So essentially, they could still potentially find a way to maybe steal the division down the line. Like if certain things fall their way, The Lions aren't necessarily in that same position when you still have the Packers and the Bears in your own division, let alone, of course, the rest of the NFC there. So I think it's a must win for both teams there. But if I'm, being honest here, I think it's more so a must win for the Lions, just because I do think the Cowboys will have a shot, especially just given the conversation that we just had 15, 20 minutes ago about the Eagles and how the end of their season may look here. But I think it's 100% a must win game for these teams, and they need to treat it essentially like a de facto playoff game.
I think both teams want to win the game, and I think they're both going to treat it as a must-win game. Detroit already has 7 wins. I would say it's a more must-win game for Detroit or for Dallas, because I think the only way for Dallas to get in the playoffs is to win the division. And if they lose Thursday and we win Monday night, they're 3 games back with only 5 to go. So I mean, I don't think they really have another avenue in other than win the division. Detroit wouldn't be in great shape if they lose, but I still think there's other avenues for them to get in with the wild card and stuff like that. Dallas's only path to the playoffs really is to win the NFC East.
I don't know that, right? So Detroit's funny, right? So say he goes 7-6. The best they can go is 11-6 if they win out, which is tough to say for Detroit. Detroit's got to play at the Rams, they got to play the Steelers, they got to play at Chicago, at Minnesota. That's not an easy schedule for Detroit. Can we concede that the 49ers are going to beat the Titans in San Fran?
Yes.
Okay. So the 49ers would have 10 wins, and they'd have to only win 1 game to get to 11 wins, that situation. The Seahawks are going to make the playoffs. The Rams are going to make the playoffs. That's 2 wild card teams out of that division. Then you have the Bears, who are at 9 wins, and the Packers, who have both wins over Detroit.
So essentially an extra game because of the tiebreaker.
Correct. So we could say that there's 3 wild card teams already out of those 3. So they have to catch San Fran, Seattle, or LA, and Green Bay or Chicago. I don't see a world in which they do that. And that's also saying that the Carolina Panthers fall on their face, which I think they will. That's fair. But if Detroit loses this football game, I think they're out. I think they're going.
Same. And that's why I say I think it's more important for the Lions than the Cowboys. But it's also going to be interesting, too, because no Amon-Ra St. Brown in that one. I mean, they have him listed as game time, but I talked about Herbert. I'd be shocked if Herbert plays. I'd be even more surprised if Amon-Ra played, just based on the injury and it being the ankle sprain, and he's not practicing and he's not even able to push off and run routes at this time, and they play tomorrow. Like, I would be stunned if he was able to go tomorrow night.
Fucking Amon-Ra. It's like I'm on one, but it's Amon-Ra. But I don't think Amon-Ra St. Brown plays. I think it's a high-scoring football game. I think this is one of those games where you just might see some serious fireworks. Jamison Williams, Isaac Tesla, Jahmyr Gibbs, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson.
This definitely shouldn't be. It shouldn't be one of those low-scoring dud of a Thursday night game. That's for sure.
I don't know if I'm sick. I don't know if I can watch it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch that game. I'm going to watch it, guys. I'm just. It's frustrating to think this weekend of NFL football is wild. Very good slate of football games.
Yeah, I mean they gave us all the good games on Thanksgiving, and then gave us some slop on Sunday. So I'm glad they're making up for it.
100% making up for it. You got Bears at Packers for top 2 teams in the division. Steelers at Ravens, 4 to the division. Colts at Jaguars, 4 to the division. And by the way, just a random 1:00 game we'll throw in there is Bengals, Bills, Joe
Titans
Burrow.
at Browns. Oh, no, never mind.
Wrong year.
Burrow at Allen.
Burrow and Josh.
Cam Ward at Shador. Come on now. Box office.
Yeah. Call it that. Like there's a lot of really fun games to look at this Sunday. Texans Chiefs, basically eliminator.
Another playoff game.
Yeah, playoff game. Eagles Chargers. Ugh, yuck. Sounds fun. It's gonna the whole national world is gonna get to watch the Philadelphia Eagles look like shit versus Trey Lance in a bag of Doritos. And Eric said fantasy. Justin Herbert says he's preparing to play. What else is he gonna do? So, listen, he might play, but like him preparing to play, like what's he gonna tell them? No, I'm not prepared. So just rule me out now. Like, of course he's preparing to play. When you read a report that says a player is prepared, Jaden Daniels was preparing to play Sunday night. Just wasn't cleared for physical activity.
Well, I mean, again, if you're preparing to play and then you're hoping you get cleared and you don't, I mean, that's different than just being Monday, being like, there's no way he's going to get cleared and he's out.
He's questionable.
So, yeah, okay.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how everything plays out in the NFL. Any games, anything else you guys want to talk about NFL? Anything you want to recap? You guys want to rub anything more in my face? I've had a rough few weeks, guys.
No, I mean, I think at this time frame, I didn't pick the game with the Texans and Chiefs, but I think we're going to not see the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs this year. Like, I think I've finally got to that point where I feel like I'm comfortable enough to say that. And it's crazy to think because it feels like every time the Chiefs are in the playoffs, they're, a guarantee to make the AFC Championship game. And we're going to have a postseason where they're not going to be invited. But I think we're at that point in this year. I know it's a playoff game, but I think Texans are playing great football right now. And the Chiefs have put themselves in quite a predicament.
Yeah, their left tackle is out for 4 games. Simmons, him being out versus that front of the Texans is going to be interesting. Bet the under in that football game.
Will Anderson going to eat?
Bro, Will Anderson is a guy that I spotted in college and knew immediately he'd be an all-pro NFL talent. Hall of Famer. Hey, real quick, Control, and we'll move off into Pick'em in a second. What we're witnessing with Myles Garrett, we don't get to talk about enough because the Cleveland Browns stink. It's historic.
It is.
He's going to break the sack record.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy because I 100% think he's going to break it, but you have to think that the NFL now plays a 17 game schedule, but I think he's going to break it. Strahan did it in 16. TJ tied it in 17. I 100% think he's going to break it. I think there's a chance that he breaks it this Sunday, if I'm being honest. Rookie quarterback on the other side, Cam Ward. That Tennessee offensive line hasn't been great. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if not break it, but I should say tie it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ties it this upcoming weekend. But even seeing like he only had one this past week against Trent Williams, who's one of the best to ever do it at left tackle, and he was making him look silly at times. So it's a crazy run that Myles Garrett's been on. And
then I love that you bring this up, Damian. At least Herbert has his head on football, unlike Abdul Carter. They're going to ruin him in New York. You see the news coming out about him?
Can't stay focused in meetings.
I mean, obviously, you can see in the Hard Knocks, if you watch the video, he's got his head up. It's really funny. But I don't know. Just one of those ones where I don't know. I find it very interesting.
He's got 1 sack on the year. I don't know. I feel like at some point though, like you got to be bigger than your situation. He's a rookie, so I mean, I give him some grace, but I mean, on that D line with Burns and Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence, like you're not having success. I mean, of course, coaching plays a factor into it, but I feel like at a point you got to also look in the mirror, especially when reports coming out.
If you're not having success on a line like that, where you're probably very rarely getting double teamed, and everybody else in that defensive line is having success, that's a look in the mirror type moment for me.
I'm sure it's some Abdul Carter, but if you run into the right organization is going to get him. And yeah, all of a sudden he'll no longer have problems in meetings. I'm serious. It's a train wreck. Just fired their DC, their head coach is fired. They're suspending him, like they're benching him publicly. Like they're making it be known. It's I don't know. It's a train wreck going on over there.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt.
Let's get into NFL pick. We got a lot to talk about still. We're at 8:15. Jesus Christ. I was on such a run. It's still good, but
I had still really good. 85% NFL is kind of unsustainable there, big guy.
We had room, man. This was the week to really gain some ground, and everybody across the board went 1 and 2.
Man, Miami screwed me.
Miami screwed me too. 19-0, and then cover 5.5 point spread.
I stopped paying attention to that game because I was like, oh, that's a W.
Dude, you know the Saints recovered the onside kick. They almost won the game.
I did see that. Got stopped on what, 4th down, 4th and 1?
Yeah.
Wild. All right, so I'll go through my picks here real quick. First game, one that we kind of just touched on. I have the Cowboys +3 at the Lions. I think the Cowboys are going to take care of business, and they're going to win the football game outright. No Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, will prove to be the difference in that one. Lions offense struggles just a little bit less than what the Cowboys, a little bit more than what the Cowboys offense does. So I like the Cowboys +3 there. Second one, I've gone to this well. This is my 3rd time this season. They've covered both times before, so I'm going to them again. Give me the Browns -3.5 at home versus the Titans. I think it's going to be more so on the defense, not necessarily the Browns offense lighting it up, but I think especially at home that Browns defensive line will eat, and I think they're going to truly slow down Cam Ward on the other side. If you put up 17 points in that one, I think you cover the 3.5 spread, no problem. And then my last game, I like the Seattle Seahawks -7 on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Atlanta Falcons absolutely stink right now. And even last week, the Seahawks didn't necessarily look crisp against the Minnesota Vikings team, but they won the game 29-0. I think they're going to go down to Atlanta, shut down the Falcons, especially without Drake London playing, and cover that 7-point spread.
We don't have any of the same picks.
I don't have any of those as well, which is good. I'm going to start up in Buffalo, which if we didn't focus on all of our attention on the Eagles playing poorly, we should probably focus on Buffalo. They are not playing well. Joe Burrow back for the Bengals, +5.5 up in Buffalo. Buffalo's defense has been atrocious. I think Joe Cool and Jamar Chase and company keep it close. I'll take the Bengals +5.5. Baltimore -5.5 at home, coming off the absolute sloppy shellacking from the Bengals last week. I don't think there's any way they played that bad 2 weeks in a row. I'll take Baltimore -5.5 at home. Last but not least, the game we just touched on a second ago, Houston playing well. Kansas City been up and down all year. Eliminator game. I'll take Houston +3.5 at Kansas City.
I have one of yours. I thought I was going to have 2. I'm also picking this Buffalo Bills Bengals game, but I'm not taking either side. Give me the over 52.5 for Bills and Bengals. I don't see if either one of these teams gets stops. I just don't see it happening. I think the Bengals will score with them, and if the game's competitive, Buffalo always scores. They're just one of those teams, and I don't think Cincinnati's defense is really that good. They've played well recently, but I don't think they're that good. I'll take the over 52.5 Bills versus Bengals. I'm also on the Ravens -5.5 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. When they play in M&T, it's normally a high-scoring game. When they play in Pittsburgh, it's normally a low-scoring game. This game will be in M&T. I think that the Ravens win, and I think they'll win pretty heavily. And then last but not least, I hope Damien's listening. Give me the Packers -6.5 over the Chicago Bears. I looked at that spread when it opened. I'm like, they're still giving Chicago absolutely no credit. They're coming off that high over Philadelphia winning that game. I think Green Bay smacks it down to earth. I think the Packers defense dominates that football game. I'll take the Packers to win a non-competitive football game over the Bears. bear down. There we go. College football championship week. Before we get into championship week, we got to talk about something that happened. Guys, it can't be the biggest rivalry in all sports if we're not going to talk about it. Cottrell, have fun. Floor is yours.
I mean, I think if you strip the rivalry away, which is something you really can't do because regardless of how good either team is in that matchup, it can truly go any way, like whenever they play. Like it can truly be one of those games where nothing makes sense in the game that actually happens. But if you strip that away just this season, I think you kind of saw this coming. Michigan was a team that had struggled on offense, and they've had injuries on their offense this year. And on the flip side of it, Ohio State's been playing excellent defense, and they've been moving the ball efficiently on offense. And so I gave my breakdown last week, and I thought that this would look very similar to what the games against USC and Oklahoma looked like for Michigan, and that really was the case. Julian saying he did have the interception early, definitely had me feeling like here we go again, but he responded very well to that adversity there. And once Jordan Marshall went out the game after his big time run, Michigan's offense really didn't get it going. Bryce Underwood, I can't even necessarily say that he had a bad game. It definitely was a bad game, but I mean, at what point is Michigan going to take the training wheels off of him? I understand he's a true freshman, but that's just not how you play winning football there. So I'm happy the game went the way that it did. Ohio State winning the football game is important. Coming out healthy is even more important. So I'm happy with everything that I saw, and that's what I ultimately wanted from them. You don't have to go and prove to anybody. We were having jokes in our group message. Gene had said, Michigan is tougher. Ohio State is better. You don't have to go out there and prove to anybody that you're the tougher team, because that's not what puts a W in the win and loss column. You just have to go out there. You have to be better, and you have to put up more points. So Ryan Day did not let that be a focus this year. He didn't try to go out there and run it down Michigan's throat this year. He just went out. They played Ohio State football and got the win. So I was very happy with what I saw this past Saturday.
I mean, you being happy with it's an understatement. I think the biggest question I'd have if I was a Michigan fan, and I mean, Dave Portnoy already put it out there, is I'm out of it on Bryce Underwood. He looked terrible. And we could go, oh, it's Ohio State's. I mean, other teams have played Ohio State and been able to throw the ball more than 5 yards. Like, he's throwing the ball at the line of scrimmage every play. There's no urgency to throw the ball downfield. And I understand Ohio State's got a good defense. I get it. But when you're down multiple scores and you're not even trying to throw the ball downfield, it's a red flag. Michigan looked in the first half like the tougher football team. Ohio State was obviously the better football team. Shai, what were your thoughts on the game?
Again, I think the first 2 or 3 series, I mean, they went about as well as they could for us, minus scoring a touchdown. But I knew once Jordan Marshall came out of that one pile, he couldn't raise his arm. That was going to be it for him. That was a big factor. I mean, he had 60 yards rushing in a series and a half. I think Ohio State's defense played great. I think the first couple series we were not really able to pressure Julian Sayin, but we made him throw the ball a little bit sooner than he wanted to, and that resulted in the one interception and a couple incompletions. After that, you got to hand Ohio State's offensive line. I thought they played great as a unit. We had no pressure really. The rest of the game, it seemed, unless we blitzed, and we had to bring 2 people to get there. You got to tip your cap to them. They played an absolute great game from pretty much the second quarter on. And you see the value in, I'm gonna say being, you see the value, to your point, in being able to throw the ball. I think when Julian's saying, I think his job is a lot easier when he has 2 guys like to throw the football to. And he settled in the game, played well, made the one big throw to Tate. And I got pissed off at the Smith one because I think they called it wrong. But at the end of the day, if we would have lost by 7, I probably would have harped on that. But in the end all be all, it didn't really matter at all. So they're a really good football team. I think they're going to be the benefit of having that elite defense, and in college even more so than the NFL. That can really, really, really matter. They're going to be a tough out. They're very good. They're just as good as I said they were all year long. So,
in my mind, though, Bill, because I can understand, like, of course, I'm an Ohio State fan. So the Jeremiah Smith, like, once it happened, I'm like, there's no way they can call that a touchback. Like, I get it, letter of the law, all that. Like, there's no way they can call that a touchback. Then on the flip side of it, I was like, you know what? We're all leaving because there's no way Barham should have been in the game after headbutting an official. Like, I understand they say that he was trying to show the official what Ohio State was doing, but you make contact with an official's nose and you throw your head down. That's an ejection every single time. And they gave him the personal foul call there. And so in my mind, I was like, all right, we're square here. We're 1 for 1. They didn't eject him.
That's you look. That's you looking at it that way because it benefits you that way. I wouldn't have been mad if they were.
Barham,
you can throw Barham, bro. The only thing I'll say about the call is this: they were talking about it in the SEC games later on in the coverage, being like, "I can't believe they didn't overturn it. It should have been a touchback." They were talking about it on other networks in SEC football games about how the refs in that game blew it. Again, it didn't matter in the game, so I don't care. If they would have threw Barham out, I would have been mad. He deserves it. To your point.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying. For me, it's a wash.
Yeah, that's a big wash.
To be fair, as an unbiased person that watched the football game that picked Michigan, when I watched that, I would have been appalled if they would have called it a touchback.
Same.
It just doesn't make sense. Like I feel like that the rule would
okay, fine. Argue the rule, but you have to call the rules the way they're written. Denied possession, foot was out of bounds clearly.
So he had possession though. He didn't lose possession of the ball. He regained possession of the football.
While his foot was out of bounds.
Yeah, I felt like it was never a time where he really fumbled the ball.
Common sense has to prevail at some point, but I hear you, Bill, about the rules being written that way, which is why I said letter of the law. I understand it, but we have to treat football as football. So I'm with you, Gene.
Yeah,
I'm glad you.
I agree. And again, and then they'll be all, like I said, it didn't matter, so I don't care. It would have been awful if that game would have been a touchdown game because the controversy around it then would have been, that would have overrode everything. It would have been about the game anymore. So I'm to that point. I'm also glad that didn't happen. So, but we'll see. I'm very, very curious to see what happens Saturday in Indy. I think it's going to be a very good game.
I don't, but we'll talk about that later. Control, point us in directions.
Yeah, so I mean, the other thing I kind of wanted to just have a small discussion on here before we kind of break down conference championship week here. You had A&M ultimately lost last week, so Texas is now kind of on that bubble there. Vandy's also on that bubble. You got Miami, BYU, Notre Dame. I don't have the full rankings. Like, I don't have like a slide for anything like that there. But right now, Notre Dame is the cutoff at the 10 spot, and it's looking like it's going to be some variation of the ACC winner, the American winner, and then if JMU, takes care of business, and let's say Duke wins the ACC, you're going to have two conference champions for the last 2 spots there. As far as that goes there, what kind of chaos this upcoming weekend do you see potentially happening where we see do you see Texas get in? Do you see Miami get in? Do you see Alabama potentially getting left out with a bad loss to Georgia? Like, any chaos you guys see potentially happening this upcoming weekend?
With the college football rankings, Texas is eliminated. They have no chance of getting it. There's zero chance of getting it.
You say that, but
13.
You say that, but they went up. I guess my issue would be, well, I mean, listen, the rankings in general are dog shit. But I mean, Vanderbilt won 5 in a row, 3 of which were ranked wins, and then it move up a spot. I don't know how that happens.
Then they fall behind Texas.
Yeah, which is just crazy to me.
When do they become shit? Let's discuss when they become shit. Do you think A&M should have dropped as far as they dropped, below Ole Miss?
For me, yes. Like, I'm good with it. And maybe ahead of Ole Miss. Like, maybe I think we're splitting hairs there. But for me, I think not Texas A&M. I think Texas Tech was getting a kind of a crazy short end of the stick, essentially, because they're 11-1 right now, but they're 11-0 with their starting quarterback playing, and they've won all of their games by 20 plus points in those 11 wins. They've been one of the most dominant teams in the country. So for them to, just essentially be behind Georgia, and I think at a time they were behind another one-loss team. They had eventually, moved up there. But Oregon has been playing really good football as of late. Ole Miss, even before, Lane's no longer there. So, I mean, I think the argument could be made they slot in between Oregon and Ole Miss, but I don't think it's crazy that they've, fell back that far to a Texas team who has been underwhelming, to put it lightly.
I would just say there's been no consistency. A lot of other teams have lost to ranked teams and fallen 2 or 3 spots. To be on the road and lose to Texas, who, depending on who you talk to, everybody thinks should be the exception to every rule and be the 3-loss team that gets in. I think they should be ahead of Ole Miss, especially without having Lane Kiffin now. I think obviously be behind Georgia and Oregon is probably fair. But I mean, they were number 3 pretty much the entire year, start to finish, once they started winning. So that's a little rough for me. The Vanderbilt thing is just an absolute joke. Alabama has to win. If they lose to Georgia, they're out.
You think?
I do.
Let's discuss it. Ohio State's in.
There's too many good teams that have really, really good resumes with 2 losses. Like you just can't. Again, I've been on the horse of saying how that loss to Florida has to matter for Texas. Sorry, Alabama's loss to Florida State isn't that bad, but it's still a bad loss. It's if you're telling me it comes down between them and Vanderbilt's got 1 less loss and it's the same amount of ranked wins, sorry.
It come down to them, Vanderbilt. My question would be, you're penalizing a team for losing in a championship game while another team would leapfrog them for not playing in a championship game. That's the problem with this whole system. And look,
that's why you don't lose to Florida State.
You're not wrong, but there's
the whole point about this is winning football games, and all we keep talking about is who you're losing to. It's so ass backwards. If you lose a game and somebody else wins a game, they should get rewarded for it. I don't care who you lose to.
Notre Dame has scheduled themselves the most cupcake back end of the schedule of all time,
and they got punished for it. Like I said, they would.
But they're 10th, right? Alabama's 9th. If Alabama loses to Georgia, does Notre Dame leapfrog them? Does Miami leapfrog them, who's 12th?
Well, Notre Dame now is in. They're like the cutoff. Notre Dame is the 10th cutoff.
Unless Duke beats Virginia.
Notre Dame is praying for chalk right now, is what Notre Dame is praying for.
Duke beating Virginia could be a Power 4 team not having a playoff team in the ACC. If Duke beats Virginia, the ACC has no one that makes the playoffs.
Correct.
No one.
Which would be insanity, because then you'd have either North Texas or Tulane, and then you'd also have JMU, as long as they take care of business in the Sun Belt Championship. Right. So, I mean, I think it could really get crazy too if, we're not talking about it, but in the Big 12 championship game, if BYU goes out and somehow, some way beats Texas Tech, I mean, BYU is an 11-1 team right now. Texas Tech, I think, at this point is in no matter what happens in that football game. So BYU would essentially be stealing a spot there as well. And then Notre Dame's on the outside looking in. If BYU loses, though, BYU is the meat in between Notre Dame and Miami. If you're the committee, you have to look at Notre Dame and Miami are going to be right next to each other. And if both teams are sitting there at 10-2, I know they're both idle, but if both teams are there at 10-2 and they've played head to head, how can you not move Miami ahead of Notre Dame in that situation? I wouldn't understand it if that was the case. You have a buffer between them right now, so it's like I still don't agree with it, but I can at least hear it, I guess, now. But if you have them side by side, you have to move Miami up if they're both 10-2 right next to each other.
And then to Gene's other point, you have BYU then, who both their losses would be A, on the road, and B, on a neutral site to
the same team.
To the same team, which at that point will be a top 3 team in the country. And but you want to shove Texas down my throat? Fuck out of here! I just don't want to hear it.
There's no way you can tell me Texas over BYU.
You can't tell me Texas over anybody in front of them.
Agreed.
There's
not
no
for
way
me.
you can tell me Texas over BYU.
And like you look at the Miami Notre Dame thing is even worse after everything got updated this week, which is we knew what was going to happen because Notre Dame's numbers were going to take a hit because they were facing 2 teams at the end of the year that combined 6 wins, and Miami went ranked at the end. They had 4 common opponents. Miami beat 3 of those 4 opponents by more points, has more ranked wins, and doesn't.
They beat Notre Dame head to head.
And beat Notre Dame head to head. I just don't know in what world Notre Dame is ahead of them in rankings. Just none. I just don't get it.
It's fun. It's madness.
So
bullshit.
I know we're gonna, real quick here, kind of talk about some of these games here, but let's assume for a second that things go chalk. Like, let's assume Georgia beats Bama. Let's assume Texas Tech beats BYU. And of course, you're gonna have the 2 conference championships, like the potentially the ACC, if Virginia gets in, like, so those 2 spots, I'm not even going to worry about those. But if Bama suffers a loss today, suffers a loss this upcoming week, and then BYU also suffers a loss, do you think Miami could potentially jump Notre Dame and Bama to get to 9? Do you think Bama would be in no matter what?
If Miami's playing Notre Dame and the college football rankings put out a rankings that had Notre Dame 10 and Miami 12, and both teams are idle, that would be the dumbest thing ever if the next rankings they put out, they had Miami. Like, what happened this week? I don't like
the chair of the committee went on ESPN Tuesday night and said idle teams can get moved. Like, those were his exact words because they asked him about the situation.
2 idle teams. That doesn't make sense. How could the 2 idle teams get moved?
That was the conversation. It was the Notre Dame Miami conversation.
Yeah, to your point, everybody around them is playing, so not everybody around them can win. So naturally, somebody's going to lose. So if teams go backwards, there's teams that'll go backward past them. But
no, that's not.
I agree with your other point, though. I don't know if you were going to move Miami in front of them, you would have done it this week.
Correct.
And so if they're not going to do it now, I don't know. I don't know how you would justify it with both of them sitting and then come out, Sunday night and say, well, now head to head, we thought about it some more. Now head to head matters, and we're going to put Miami ahead of Notre Dame. I don't know how you're going to do that.
I'm not saying it makes sense for what
they should do it. They should do it. And that's the worst thing.
But they did. That's the right thing to do. I'm saying
it is right
ultimately go in the room and say, hey, we're going to course correct here. We're looking at everything on paper. These 2 teams are here. And the crazy thing about it, too, is that if you think about the committee, it doesn't necessarily just have to be them coming out and say, hey, Miami is ultimately going to be 1 slot ahead of Notre Dame. It's a whole bunch of people in one room voting on, like, they have different rankings. So all it takes is, potentially 2-3 people to say, you know what, Miami should be ahead of Notre Dame for this thing to really get flipped upside down. So, like, they don't have to, like, get everybody in the room to agree on this. We don't know how close it is as far as votes for Miami and Notre Dame. And without BYU in the middle of that, I do think there's a possibility that we see the change happen.
Well, the only thing I would say is he said that, like, they usually put teams in groups of 3 or 4, and every week Notre Dame and Miami have been in the same group. So to that aspect, I guess hopefully common sense, somebody in that room finally wakes up and just goes, if we're ranking these 3 teams and 2 of them literally played on the field with a definitive outcome, and everything else, for lack of a better argument, is equal across the board. How do you not put them in front of them? I just don't get it. And I'm sick of hearing the eye test with Notre Dame. Yeah, cool. They look great. They're playing shitbag teams. They should look great. Jeremiah Love should run for 200 yards against Stanford every week. Like, he should run for 200 yards against Sisters of the Poor. Notre Dame should look good against those teams because they're awful. Like, it's again, you go common opponents. They just played Pittsburgh this week, who was ranked. Miami beat them worse than Notre Dame did, and Miami beat them on the road. So it's just either that or just have the balls to go on TV and say Notre Dame's going to make us more money if they're in the playoff. Just say that then. Just say it. Just say that, and I'll shut up, because at least somebody's being honest finally.
I mean, I don't think the U is not a moneymaker. I think the U.
It ain't Notre Dame, bro.
I follow what you're saying, but that wouldn't be my where I laid my claim. Like, we're just going to put Notre Dame in because they make more money. I guess the argument for Notre Dame would be who's playing better now. It's the same argument for leaving Florida State out of the college football playoff when they lost their starting quarterback. Notre Dame hasn't lost since week 2. Their 2 losses are to number 12 at Miami and to at home versus A&M, who's now number 7, number 3 all year. That's their 2 losses, whereas Miami has way worse losses than Notre Dame does. If Notre Dame lost to Miami by 3 and they play them on a neutral site, you would like, that's not really a fair argument that they played in Miami. I'm arguing for Notre Dame in this scenario, which I don't agree with. But my point being is I'm trying to give you the other side of the coin. I understand the argument for Notre Dame.
I get the other side of the coin for sure. I think, though, at a point, we put everything out there on paper. And at the end of the day, if all things are equal, because while you're right, like Notre Dame's losses are better, Miami's wins are better. And if you're looking at that and you're saying, okay, well, we got 1 check mark for Miami in this situation, 1 check from Notre Dame there. I don't have to think about who's better on the field, whether it happened week 1, it happened week 6, it happened week 12.
Miami, and it was a field goal.
I don't care. I saw
the football game
this season. I saw it happen this season.
So home field doesn't matter?
Of course,
it doesn't matter. You're talking about imagination stuff or something that really happened. They played. Notre Dame had their shot to beat them. They didn't do it.
Correct.
So how do you penalize Miami? You're penalizing Miami for winning a home game? That's your argument?
Oh, they won the game by 3. And
they won. Exactly. Who cares?
The loss to Miami is not as bad as the loss Miami took to SMU and to
SMU is 40 seconds away from going to the ACC championship game.
So you're right.
That's changing it.
The losses are worse, but when you look at Notre Dame's best win, like Notre Dame doesn't have even close to a win as what Miami does.
Notre Dame's best win is Miami's 4th best win.
Yeah.
So like
Notre Dame's best win is USC probably.
And that would be Miami's.
That's the hill you want to die on. No, they said 4th. They said by metrics, Notre Dame's best win is Miami's 4th strongest win.
Let's get in the pick 'em. I'm not. Well, you guys will break down obviously the championship game. Is there a championship game that happens Friday? That's like a relevant one, because I know you guys do coast to coast Saturday.
Had it up. Let's see.
I think somebody else playing Friday.
Who?
I just had it up.
Who plays Friday?
Friday, North Texas and Tulane. That's going to be one. That's going to be one playoff spot.
Okay.
Winner of that is guaranteed a spot in the playoff. So,
we got to talk about number 1 and 2. He's right. We got to talk about it. Well, I picked it, so I'll talk about it then.
We're doing like a real pick. We're just gonna pick the games.
Do you want to talk about Ohio State versus Indiana?
I don't know why we wouldn't.
All right, bring it up. Let's go.
I mean, where you see it going? You know where I'm going with it.
So we're just going to Shally. This guy's had his phone.
I think it's gonna be a really good game. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think the closest thing you really have to that you could put up for Indiana defensively they played Iowa, and they went to Oregon and beat Oregon, who was a really good defense. I think they'll be able to move the ball. I think if somebody gets to 30, they win, and it'll probably be Ohio State. But I don't think this is a one-sided football game at all. I think Indiana's tough. I think they'll come in there with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they will absolutely play a physical football game. I think that offense will have enough wrinkles to make Matt Patricia, definitely, I think, move some players and do some different things that he probably doesn't want to. And on the other side of the ball, I absolutely think Ohio State will be able to move the football and again make Indiana make adjustments, especially in the back half where they can struggle sometimes. So I like Ohio State to win, but I think it's a really good football game.
I'll tell you what, Fernando Mendoza won't be scared to throw the ball down the field like Bryce Underwood was. That was embarrassing. Chow, would you support him transferring and getting a different quarterback?
No, because in 2 years he's gonna be the best quarterback in the country. You're also forgetting that he doesn't call plays. Okay, so whatever you want to do, bro. Or you just love, like, you watch a half of a football game and then come out with these like crazy take. Okay, so you watched one Michigan game this year. Congrats.
I watched 2 Michigan games this year.
It was the second one.
They played Michigan State.
And he had like 240 yards in that game.
He didn't throw the ball down the field. A lot of swings, a lot of screens.
Okay.
That's Julian saying,
okay, so that's his fault.
I guess.
Okay.
He looks terrible. I'm just telling you the truth.
Okay. He's 18 years old. We will. I'm not going to bury a kid who started when he barely turned 18 with a bunch of young kids around him. We'll see if he's this way in 3 years or 2 years. He had
200 and some yards versus Michigan State.
I thought he had 223 in that game or something.
Interesting. Like he had 86.
Oh, well.
that was not. I don't watch enough Michigan football. You're right.
You don't, but it's fine.
You're right. I don't. But I knew I watched him play Michigan State. And he had 100 yards. When he said he had 200 and some yards, I looked it up. Okay. I'm like, he had 86.
Okay. If you think he sucks, then that's you as a talent evaluator. We'll say
he sucks. He could get better. He's young.
Okay, you're right.
I don't see it. Right. Charles told me for years. Charles told me for years that Drew Aller would be it, and I kept hanging on to that. He stunk. And then you told me for years that JJ McCarthy is it, and he stinks.
He's played 5 games.
Okay. We'll see. The worst quarterback.
You said Drake May was a bust last year, and the beginning of this year you said he sucked.
Did I not say?
Okay. So you can be wrong. I would say you hang on the fence. I'm not going to bury anybody who plays 5 games of football, dude. I didn't say JJ McCarthy's going to be the best quarterback in the history of the NFL. He's played 5 games. Drake May played all year last year. You came on here knowing everything and said he sucks. Now he might win the MVP.
Played 7 games. If you want to keep giving wrong stats, that's fine.
7, okay, 7 games.
I just want to make sure we're giving the right stats. You make stuff up.
Drake May a bust or not? Drake May played all year last year. You said he's a bust.
Absolutely
but probably going to win the MVP. Okay, so maybe you're wrong again.
I can do that.
How do we get
wrong about ever?
Because I'm just not throwing anybody under the bus for playing 7 games of football.
You hang on the fence.
That's not a fence. I want to. Okay. That is an opinion. I don't know. He hasn't played enough yet. He showed glimpses the first week where we let him down the game and Phil fucking won the game. He showed glimpses.
What would you think? What would you say Bryce Underwood is?
It's like, what do you mean? What do I say he is?
Do you think he's good? Do you think he's going to be the best quarterback in the country in 2 years?
Not in Michigan's offense. He won't be the best quarterback in the country. I think he's a good athlete. He's a good athlete. As far as him throwing it, the jury is 100% still out on that. But I think if he wants to develop as a quarterback, I think he has the raw talent. You could see the arm talent itself there. But at Michigan, like, that's not what they want to do. And if they're going to how they game planned for him the entire year, there's absolutely no way he's going to develop in that offense.
Okay, I guess we'll find out. We'll wait. I can't wait until like JJ McCarthy gets cut from the Vikings in the offseason. And like Trey Lance, can we admit Trey Lance stinks? I was wrong about Trey Lance. I thought Trey Lance would be good. Can we admit it stinks? He hasn't played 6 games in the NFL. He hasn't played 6 games. But coaches can make their decisions watching a guy Dude, they put him on the concussion protocol list because they're like, I don't want to throw him versus Seattle. He's terrible.
Nobody said that but you, but that's fine.
What was all right, give me an example. Help me understand. Give me an example of the last time put their starting quarterback in concussion protocol.
Okay. What do you mean?
Give me an example of the last time a team
who can put their teams can't put. Who puts people in concussion protocol now, Gene?
The independent neurologist does.
Okay, so who did that?
J.J. McCarthy was did not get ruled with a concussion by the independent neurologist on Sunday. On Monday, Minnesota put him in the
right. He went home and said he couldn't sleep and had headaches. Came in Monday, got evaluated by the independent neurologist, and they put him in concussion protocol. Read the whole story, bro.
I've read the whole story. When was the last
How do you not know that? How do you not know that? Then why don't you just say that? You just said he did this and that, and they just put him in there. They just put him in there.
I have to report that to the independent neurologist. No teams do that. Do you know how many people go home and
who doesn't?
No one. When was the last time you've seen it?
Seen what? Gee, people get put in protocol all the time.
When was the last time you seen a guy not exit the game, not getting put in concussion protocol, get put
Did it happen earlier this year? Weren't we talking about someone who got knocked silly and we were like, how are they back in the game? Who was it earlier in the year?
Jackson Dart.
This is what you'll do. You'll just
that's who it was. No. Because I couldn't remember whose name it was. And that's who it was.
Who?
Jackson Dart got knocked silly. You couldn't even stand up. They had to help him off the field, and he was back in the game with 2 plays later. And then what was he in come Monday?
He was in concussion protocol after the game.
He finished the game. He should have been back. If he got put in protocol, they would have took his helmet and he wouldn't have been able to go back in the game, Gene. So when did he get put in protocol?
He got put
in protocol on Sunday instead of Monday.
After the game. So he went home, couldn't sleep.
No, it wasn't. That's not what happened. You're making stuff up.
I'm not. Read the report.
It's in circles.
He went back in Monday and they took the test and he didn't fail.
Have you ever seen a team do that? Ever? Have you ever seen a quarterback, a starting quarterback in the NFL, go home, come back to the facility, and then the team goes, okay, let's get him evaluated for a concussion? Have you ever seen that? Ever?
On a Monday, no.
Ever?
Yes, I mean that didn't happen. It's like it's documented, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You're arguing with reporters who reported on and covered it. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
You're always right.
My opinions.
I will say
your opinion doesn't outweigh something that actually happened, Gene. That's not how it works. There's opinions and facts.
Bill.
Okay, so there's a first time something always happened, Gene. True or false? It has to happen for the first time for it to happen again, right?
Because you yell doesn't make your point.
Okay, and just because you say you're right doesn't mean you're right. Same difference.
Sorry, I'm entertaining.
Okay, opinions aren't right. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has them. They're not facts. Right. They're not facts.
People tune in to listen to our opinions.
They're facts. You're arguing an opinion with a fact.
No one would listen to you, Bill.
Gene, I'm not talking about my opinion of what happened. I am talking about what actually happened. The way that it actually played out and happened. It's been reported on, and it's facts. You're arguing an opinion over something that actually happened. That's like saying 2 + 2 is 4, but your opinion is it equals 5. You're wrong. They're not the same thing. You're incorrect.
Your report. So everything that the reporters say from the Minnesota Vikings reporting system, or what the Minnesota Vikings tell the media, is fact, right? That's what you're saying.
So now everybody's lying. Now they're just lying about JJ. Every other team reports accurately about injuries, but now it's just JJ.
This lied before, Bill.
Sure.
Okay, so how is it fact if reporters have lied before?
What facts do you have that it's wrong, Gene?
The fact that it's never happened.
Who cares? That's not a fact. That's not a fact. So you have no evidence whatsoever that they're lying. You got it, bud. You got it. JJ's a bust. Gene's right. Let's move on. Yep. Gene's opinions outweigh facts. 2 + 2 is 5. Let's move on.
You're right.
Let's move on. You got it, buddy. They tell the truth about everything else, but this one thing they're lying about just to appease you, Gene. Yep. You got it.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know how we got here from Underwood, but
he stinks too.
I know. So does Drew Aller, dude. So does Penn State.
Drew Aller does stink. I can admit when I see something on the field and they stink. You can't.
Oh, God. I didn't say he played well, dude. I said he's not a bust. They're two different things. You just don't listen.
I didn't say he was a bust. I said he stunk. I said, you said he was going to be the best quarterback in college football.
Oh, wait. I thought I was supposed to give opinions. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
And I asked Control if he agreed with that opinion.
That's my opinion.
Why are you having that opinion, dummy? All right, let's get in the pick. I got 500. I'll take 500. I've been terrible in college football.
Where are we starting here?
I think it's the same order, right? You, Bill, me, right?
I know you're picking these like this because you normally don't.
Well, we don't pick them.
I didn't know. That's why I had 3.
There's only one Superdog. Everyone has to have the same Superdog.
Yeah, I didn't even pick Superdog. I got 3 games that I picked as far as spread wise goes.
Because there's only one Superdog. The only team you can take is Troy. That's it.
Yeah. So didn't even think about that. So for me, I like Tulane plus 2.5 versus North Texas. I think Jake Retzlaff is going to have those guys ready to go. And they are going to punch their ticket into the college football playoff, and John Summerall is going to keep his season rolling there. I like Georgia minus 2.5 versus Alabama to get revenge for their only regular season loss this year. I think the way that Georgia is starting to put it together on both sides of the football, I think they're playing great. And for the flip side of it, Bama's offense has just not been playing inspired at all. Ryan Williams has been a shell of himself out there for a guy who was considered, a top 5 receiver in all of college football. He's really gotten lost in that offense there. And then my last game, I got Ohio State minus 4.5 versus Indiana. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout by any means there, but I do think it's going to be a 2-score football game. I would be shocked if Indiana scored anything above 17 points in that football game. And I think with the way Ohio State's offense has been playing, I'd be shocked if they scored less than at least 27 in that one. So I'm thinking a 27-17, 27-13 kind of football game, but competitive on both sides there. I just think Ohio State at some point starts to run away with it.
I like that it's down to 4.5. I'm going to take Ohio State as well. I said before, I think it'll be a very good game. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be in one possession. I think Indiana is tough enough and gritty enough to hang with Ohio State. Just the end all be all, though, I'll take Ohio State's defense when push comes to shove. And I think even though Indiana's defense is good, again, I think if they have a weakness, it's in the back end. I think with Jeremiah Smith and Tarver and all those guys, I think Brian Hartline and company will find a way to exploit it. I'll take Ohio State minus 4.5. Also taking Georgia minus 2.5. Said it a couple weeks ago. It's a very weird, backwards, Kirby Smart type team. But the last couple weeks they've looked really good. The biggest thing for me is, like Cottrell said, even if you watch the Auburn game on Saturday night and the week before, Alabama cannot run the football. They just cannot do it with any regularity, with any success. Ryan Williams has kind of been a ghost. Ty Simpson's played great. He played gutty, but I don't think if you let Georgia just pin their ears back and go all game, I like Georgia in that game. Last but not least, I'm actually going to go against Cottrell on this one. I'll take a flyer on North Texas. I like their offense. I don't know how well they're going to stop Tulane, but they spread the ball around. They've got one really good running back. I can't think of his name. But I'll take North Texas minus 2.5. Just throw another whole wrench into the system.
I'm just going to believe what my eyes tell me. I have a couple games in which I've watched these games before. These games have happened. They've been blowouts. I'll start with the game. I agree with all you guys. I'll take Ohio State minus 4.5 over Indiana. I think that Ohio State's defense shows you how good they are. Fernando Mendoza will definitely throw the ball down the field, but I don't think it'll be enough for Ohio State to, I think Ohio State still wins the football game. I think they covered a 4.5. I watched Texas Tech beat the shit out of BYU. 29-7. The defense just absolutely mauled BYU the entire football game. I'm going to go with Texas Tech minus 12.5 to do it again. They're the better football team. Their defense absolutely is smothering BYU in this football game. And also, Boise State played UNLV. And Boise State they had a running back that ran for 200 yards in that football game. 200 yards. They won by 35 points or 25 points. Dylan Riley, 15 carries, 201 last time these two teams played. Give me Boise State minus 4.5 over UNLV. I think that's somewhat of a layup. That's my 3 picks. We don't have a Superdome.
So we got a little bit of breaking news here, gentlemen.
Okay.
Before we get into UFC.
Okay.
20 minutes ago, Giannis Antetokounmpo went down with a non-contact injury and has left the game. Bucks say he's out for the rest of the game with a right calf strain, but people are speculating that it could have been his Achilles. That would throw a monkey wrench into this whole Giannis Antetokounmpo trade situation. So something that we will definitely have to monitor moving forward here with the Giannis situation.
That's breaking news. Breaking news.
That'd be bad news.
All right. Throw up the card here.
It's a good card. It's a really good card. Just a lot of good fights on the card. Anytime you're opening a UFC numbered card with Jan Blachowicz is not a bad card. Henry Cejudo's on it. Brandon Moreno. Joshua Van versus Alex Pantoja. Marab versus Peter Yan 2. This is a card that I don't know if it has dud effect to it. Control, where do you want to start?
I mean, I feel like we always just kind of start off with, just talking about these fights on the undercard here before we get into the co-main and main. I think the one thing that's kind of interesting about it is like the one fight that kind of stands out the most to me is Henry Cejudo and Peyton Talbot. Really big reason is Henry Cejudo hasn't won a fight in I don't know how long. Like I think his last win came during the COVID times. He's one of decorated champion at like in the UFC. There was the original, one of the original double champs right after Conor McGregor, but I feel like this is one of those put up or shut up kind of fights for him where he might be on the way out here. So that's the one that I'm probably most interested in here on this undercard. Of course, seeing Moreno fight, like I always think he's entertaining to watch. And then, like you mentioned, Jan Blachowicz being on the undercard there as well. He's always a candidate to put the lights out. So I definitely think this is a really good card, leading up to the co-main and main, which I also think are going to be really freaking good.
What fight on the undercard, not undercard, but like not the main two, are you most excited to watch? Triple C fight, I don't care. Henry Cejudo's fighting. But to me, watching Brandon Moreno, I love watching Brandon Moreno fight. What fight are you most intrigued with outside the main two?
For me, it has to be Cejudo and Talbot. I like seeing Moreno fight, but I've seen Moreno fight Pantoja so many times. Like, I just feel like even with the Moreno win there, like we're going to be set up for potentially for another like rematch that we don't necessarily need. Like the flyweight division, I think is yearning for some new blood there. So I'm going to say the Cejudo Talbot fight because I want to see if Henry ever gets desperate. Like, does he press for a win?
I'm looking forward to the Moreno versus Tara fight. I think it'll be a good overall fight. So it'll be interesting. Shall any undercard fight, any card, outside the main that you're looking forward to watching?
I'm with you on this one. I'm a big Brandon Moreno guy. Never dull fight. I think he'll get in there and bang and, always has a game plan, but really it's just never a lot of downtime in his fights. He likes to go. Likes to be aggressive. So I think that'll be a really good fight. And like I said, I'm a big Moreno guy, so hoping he pulls that out.
Let's get into the main two cards, fights on the card. Who do you guys like in the undercard? Joshua Van versus Alexander Pantoja. I'll start here. I think that this has upset written all over it. I like Joshua Van in this fight, and I accidentally, it was kind of accidentally, but I accidentally said Joshua Van first before Pantoja. And it's because I've watched so many Joshua Van fights, and I like him a lot. I like the way he fights, particularly his last few fights. When he beat Brandon Royval, he did it very. It was very decisive to me, and Royval's just as good of a fighter as a lot of these guys on this card. Joshua Van beating him, it felt like the turning point for Joshua Van. I think he wins the fight over Pantoja. I think he wins. I think it's a decision. I think it's a very back and forth fight, but I'll take Van by decision.
I like Pantoja by decision. I do agree. I think this is gonna be a really good fight. I think it'll be a back and forth fight. Van definitely, to your point, has what it takes to win. I think Pantoja is going to be on his game for sure. But I like the experience. I kind of like. I don't. It's not a styles make fight type fight, by any means, anything like that. But I just like Pantoja's experience a little bit more. And I think it matters in a 5-round fight. I think being a champion, not being, afraid to go into the 4th, 5th round, I think that matters sometimes. So I'll go Pantoja by. I'll definitely say it's 3-2.
With this one, I got to pick a side here. I'm rolling with Joshua Van. Gene, I think you made a lot of great points about Joshua Van in this one. Pantoja's been one of the great flyweight champions the UFC has seen. He's been defending that belt, a ton, and he's been doing it in dominant fashion. But on the flip side of it, like the Brandon Royval win it's good on the surface alone. Like it holds its own merit. But when you think about what actually happened during that time frame, Royval wasn't even supposed to be fighting Van. Van took that fight on short notice and went in and absolutely dominated. So for you to be able to do that, and that just lets me know that you 100% deserve to be here. And I think this fight specifically has Fight of the Night written all over it. These guys are going to stand and bang for 5 rounds. And if that's going to be the case, I like Joshua Van to get the advantage there. So I'm going to go Joshua Van by decision as well, same as Gene there. But do not be surprised if Joshua Van puts the lights out on Pantoja. And that's not a slight at Pantoja. Like I said, he's one of the great champions of the flyweight division. Joshua Van is just that good.
Yeah, and Joshua Van, they fought before, and it looked like Van was winning the fight on his feet, and then he got subbed. And when they fought prior, it was one of those things where I thought Joshua Van was going to win the fight. And then he got caught in a real weird way and got subbed. I don't think that happens this time. I think he's turned the corner. The main event, it's kind of a shitty main event based off of a lot of people's thoughts. Not mine. I'm a huge Peter Yan fan. I've always been a Peter Yan fan. And when he's in a 5-round fight, I think he's at his best. He's a slow starter. He's going to go against Merab, who's incredible. It's good to see these two guys getting in the ring. And they fought prior, and it was a good fight. Who do you like in this fight? I'm sure we're going to go Merab across the board. Cottrell, start us off. Who do you like here?
So for me, I like Merab. Merab's one of my guys. You say like the fight, the first fight was good. I agree with you. It was good, but ultimately there you have to also realize that was a 50-45 fight, across the board there. So while it was entertaining, I'm with you. Like I think it was that's probably the best 50-45 fight you'll ever see.
Yep.
But I think it's just going to be more of the same, though. What Peter's good at, Merab does, pretty much just as good. And he's also going to kill you with pace there. So I think Peter's best chance is going to be to try and catch Merab and try and knock him out. But I just don't ultimately see that happening because if it does get into a situation like that, Marab is probably just going to run. He's going to scramble, and then he's going to attempt 25 takedowns, and you're not going to have any gas left in the tank there. So I like Marab. I like Marab by decision to retain in this one.
I'm going to go the same way. The biggest thing for me, and I like Peter Yan. The biggest thing for me is the point that Gene that brought up already. Tends to be a really slow starter. So you see him getting these 3-round fights where, first round he almost automatically loses. Second round he starts picking up, and then third round he just dominates, but he runs out of time sometimes. Marab is definitely going to be a guy that's going to push the pace, like Cottrell said. I don't know. I think it's just going to be a case of where he's too far behind. And then at that point, I think he's going to need to finish. And I don't see that happening. So I think Marab wins by decision.
See, I love Peter Yan, and I would love to pick Peter Yan. But I can't, because everything Peter Yan's good at, Marab is better at. And when they fought prior, they were just close 10-9 rounds. Close 10-9 round. Close 10-9 round. And I think Marab's gotten better, and Peter Yan really hasn't. And that's nothing against Peter. I love Peter Yan. I don't know what his method to victory is. If Marab takes him down 11 more times in this fight, he's got no chance. So if he keeps the fight on its feet, I guess I could argue he's a slightly better on-feet striker. But that's about it. I think it's closer. Give me a Marab 4-1 victory. I wanted to say 3-2 really bad.
Not much closer, but it's.
I don't know if you've seen it on my face. I really wanted to say 3-2. I don't want to lie to you guys out there. Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. Don't know if you saw RG3's tweet about BYU and telling people to stop persecuting Christians. I meant to comment that during the college football segment. I didn't see it.
I did not see it either. But speaking of college football, I kind of alluded to it earlier in Hot Wire, and we were talking about Lane Kiffin. And I will double down on Lane Kiffin this week. So for me, I think it's one thing to take the LSU job. Like, I have no issues with that. But everything that Lane Kiffin has done following his decision to take that job, for me, has been an issue. You drag out this entire saga essentially for 2 weeks, and you say you have to pray on it, you have to do this, you have to do that, when we all know you're going to take the job 2 weeks ago. I think this was a deal that was a handshake agreement back then, and you ultimately were like, let's try and drag this thing out as long as we can, and you were successful with doing that, whatever the case may be. I don't agree with you there, but like I said, whatever. My most recent issue with him is that he had an introductory press conference with LSU. He also had a interview on tarmac with Marty Smith from ESPN, where he lied through his teeth repeatedly with things that have already come out and been proven to be lies already at this point. 3 things that already have been proven to be lies. Lane Kiffin said he didn't know until Sunday morning at 8:30 that he wouldn't be able to coach the Ole Miss team in the playoffs. When the athletic director told him, when they had the meeting weeks ago, when they said, we need a decision by the Egg Bowl, they said, if you ultimately decide to go to LSU or Florida, you will not coach this team in the playoff if we make it. And I 100% believe him, because that's been the consensus pretty much this entire journey. That's why it took so long to ultimately make a decision here. He also said that players wanted him to coach in the playoff, and that, he tried to take that to the chancellor's office, and he had the players there and they were fighting for him. And then so many starting offensive linemen, they had 3 starting offensive linemen go on Twitter and said, yeah, nobody said any of that in the team meeting. And if you would have been in that meeting, you would have heard that nobody really cared for Lane Kiffin coaching us in the playoff. Like, we were perfectly fine with him leaving once they told us who they were going to be replacing him with. And then he also made a comment at his press conference that he was almost run off the road by crazy Ole Miss fans. And that's already been disproven there as well, because he had a police escort the entire way. I think the sheriff's office down there in Oxford said, yeah, that wasn't the case. We escorted him all the way to the tarmac. He got there safely. There was no ever a worry about him being run off the road or anything like that. So this week for me, Lane Kiffin, you're a narcissist, you're a liar. You just can't help yourself, it feels like, at this point. And everywhere you go, you have to do it where you set the previous program in flames. So this week for me, Lane Kiffin.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Charlie?
I was going to do Abdul Carter, but we kind of talked about it earlier, so there's not really. I actually had one this week, but there's not really that much to add on to it now. So
I almost did the situation between Penn State and BYU. It's a really funny situation. Crumble Cookies CEO gets involved, and they're appealing to Kalani said he stayed due to his faith, and they were appealing to his faith, and I thought it was very interesting. You were appealing to his faith, and he stayed because of his faith, but the $7 million that Crumble Cookie CEO threw in didn't really, come on, man.
They just said the Penn State job opening has accounted for $370 million in coaching extensions. Wild.
But what I will do is I will take one more parting shot at the Los Angeles Clippers. This was my original, you got to be kidding me, and I'll stick with it. The Los Angeles Clippers just sent home the greatest player in franchise history for the Clippers and are going to part ways with him because he doesn't like them losing. I don't know about your organization, but when you brought in James Harden, Bradley Beal, you have Kawhi Leonard, who never plays. You got rid of Norman, the floorman, who is basically your hardwood guy that was on the floor every day. And you thought this team was going to be a winning team. And you have Chris Paul, who's not used to losing, right? Like, he took a Thunder team that no one predicted to make the playoffs into the playoffs. Now, obviously, SGA came out of that smelling like roses because he was the star in that situation. But Chris Paul has went place after place with franchises that do not have winning players and have taken those players to the playoffs. He wanted to try to bring that winning culture to LA, and Tyrone Lue and the Clippers organization and the players, they just didn't want to work hard. That's the way I see it, and I'm going to live by that truth. The Clippers organization's a mess. Steve Ballmer's a mess. Everybody in that organization that allowed this to happen deserves. And if you're going to do it, you don't do it at midnight in Atlanta. Like, that's not the place that happens. So for that, this week, I'll use the Clippers organization.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
No, I got none.
I look at the situation that's happening over. Chuck, anything?
No, I'm just praying the committee gets it right on Saturday or Sunday night, but I have no faith in that. So,
what would be getting it right?
I mean, depending on what happens, there's just nothing you can do to justify me Notre Dame being over Miami. And I'm not saying that means Miami should get in, but if Notre Dame's going to get in, then Miami should be in.
All right, start bench cut. Notre Dame, Miami, Alabama losing the SEC championship. Because that's what your argument is, right?
My opinion would be how it is. I think it would depend on how close is give me the score of the Georgia-Alabama game.
26-25. Closest game of all time.
If it were me, I'd start Miami, I'd bench Bama, and I'd cut Notre Dame. If it was that close.
Yeah, that close.
Yeah, definitely starting Miami. Notre Dame just hasn't beaten anybody. Yeah, I'm with Cottrell.
Well, we'll find out what happens after championship week. Gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I think it's time to wrap it up. We're a little 20 minutes past due. Had a little spirited conversation. I have fun. Look, I don't take any of this shit personal. It's sports talk to me. So if anybody, I get text messages all the time.
So do I.
About like me and Shally fighting on air. And I want to make something very clear. I try to put the quarter in his back. I do it as much as I told him to put the gloves on during the Eagles conversation because I wanted him to fight with me over the Eagles. I just got it a little bit later in this show. It is entertaining. People tell me they tune in to hear us argue. I'm not saying I create the arguments, but I'm saying it's fun to do them. So don't take anything personal. After the show, we're going to sit on here for 15, 20 minutes and recap it, and there's no hard feelings. So don't text me that we're going to fight in real life. That's not going to happen. We're arguing over sports. Stop doing that. It's multiple people that do that.
I have a few as well.
It's funny.
Actually, I do have one last thing. Not going to put everything out there. Just going to tell Cody, love him, thinking about him. Had a bad day today. So, I thinking about him and the family tonight.
Cody Runner?
Yeah.
Prayers up. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. The Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL Gene Walls. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own Papa Cottrell, Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, Mr. William Shawcross, and we are signing out.